Hello, my name's Francine Davis, and I would really like to welcome you into the world of OGS, a world of imagination, storytelling, creative writing, and imaginative play, I hope. It works with any ages, from grandmother, grandfather, mum, dad, young children, young people. Something about the OGS seems to just unleash a little bit of creativity. And so today I would like to read you the introductory story, which I think pretty much explains what the world of OGS is all about. So I'm going to get on with that rather than chatter away, okay? Okay, are you sitting comfortably? Have you ever wondered why moths find your woolly jumpers so delicious? Have you had that where you've got holes I can see through there? Or why blankets that look lovely, but they're so itchy, it's hideous? Oh, have you had that? Oh. Or if one sock goes missing, it returns covered in fluff. Then meet the OGS who know about that stuff. Yippee! It's the first day of the summer break, say the children before realizing their mistake. They had put on their shorts, their swimsuits underneath. They had rushed to the bathroom and brushed all their teeth. But looking out of the window at the horrible weather, they headed to the craft room to plan something together. Chatting excitedly, they opened the door, but were shocked by all the mess all over the floor. There were bags of plastic, tin, clothes, and glass. The piles were so high the children struggled to get past. Mum called from the kitchen, "Children, can you sort the waste out?" "What? This is all waste," the children shout. As the rain hit the window, the children look sad. Awful waste and bad weather, the world has gone mad. Not sure what to do and troubled by the sight, the youngest of the children spoke to a jumper she held tight. "I wish you could explain what this is all about." Then dropping it to the floor, it changed as if something were trying to get out. The sleeve of the jumper had taken a new shape. Mum entered the craft room and she began to create. She cut, stretched and stitched, her hands working fast. And when showing the thing to the children, their faces were aghast. In high-pitched voices, "What is it?" they shout. "I am Mammoth. Hurry up, there are others in there waiting to get out." Mum and the children, in shock, began working. They each took a jumper and released a something. Mammoth was always the first to get released. He originated from those great hairy mammoths that have long since ceased. He had worked with funny folk from the cavemen through the ages. He had kept Og diaries recording each of these phases. I'm going to show you one of the Og diaries. This is an Og diary from the cavemen where they had all their primitive drawings. It's such a lovely diary. He's got loads of these diaries. Mammoth, his job was always to wait for the Og call. And then when it came, he would gather them all. 14 OGs were released that day. Confused, Mum and the children didn't know what to say. Bewildered, they looked to Mammoth, asking, "What should we do next?" "Be patient," he said. "I can see that you are perplexed." A little old lady in striped cashmere tights had stood up on the remnants. It was a formidable sight. "Hello, I am Granny Annie, and we are the OGs. You have released us all from these odd little bits and bobs." "OGs? What's an OG?" the children query. Granny Annie turns to the OGs, asking, "Who would like to explain it clearly?" A small mouse-like thing jumps up and shouts, "Please let me." She is the newest Og, and her name is Phoebe. "We only reveal ourselves when we get a call. We are here to help you make a difference in your world, however small. We can help you to reveal the Og in you. And then when it is released, you will know what to do. Whilst Phoebe was talking, Mammoth looked at the old gang. Seeing their faces, all the old memories began. There was Kenneth, the worrier. Where's Kenneth? There he is. They're all going to fall down now. There was Kenneth, the worrier, looking forlorn. He was sat next to Phoebe, the newest dog born. You've just met Phoebe. Next was Billy. This is Billy over here. Can I find Billy for you? Who thought everyone thick, but he was still a teenager growing into his fabric. Granny Annie approached Billy, wanting to sing him a song. At the mention of this, Billy was up and gone. Nana Peg was busy asking what the Ogs would like to eat, but it was interrupted by Aggie and Clarice. This is Aggie, this is Clarice, and they were arguing over a seat. Mammoth was pleased to see old Tom looking strong. He was chatting to Eleanor, who was over here. And she always found something wrong. And as expected, Graham and Sylvie, these are the two here, were sat together and they were commenting on the awful weather. Mammoth looked out at the window at the weather. The rain was pouring, reminding him of old Grandpa Duck's thunderous snoring. Here's Grandpa Duck here. Look at him. He's always just lounging around having a sleep. Hang on, thought Mammoth. We have a mystery. We are missing the coolest in all of Og history. Ah, there he is. Howie, the dude. Look at that, chilling out. I should have realised he would be off looking for food. Mammoth was pleased to see the Ogs and the funny folk chat. But it was time to take charge, so he began to clap. Welcome, Ogs. Pleased you have all survived. These modern funny folks, they have such strange lives. What do you mean, asked the children in tune. Well, look at this waste. Mammoth pointing around the room. Mum spoke to the group. Every week it's the same. We go shopping and create more time and again. Don't fret, funny folk, we have made a good start. Now you should realise that you are to play a very big part. Despite their shock, Mum and the children ask, how? You can start with some transport. Go and have a look now. The children and Mum come back with an old case. Look at this lovely old case. It was perfect. Mammoth is thrilled. It's perfect. Now take us to your favourite place. After all the Ogs had climbed inside, the suitcase was closed and the Ogs are taken for a ride. As Mum and the children walk down to the sea, they hear Mammoth shout, Ogs, stop being so noisy. Shh, say the children, worried that someone may hear. We are in a public place. There will be funny folk here. They eventually arrive down on the sand. The children and Mum watch as all the Ogs run around. Though each of the Ogs seems to know what must be done, Mammoth still shouts, Get the settlement ready whilst we still have the sun. The children call to Mammoth asking, What happens next? You will leave us to settle and get things fixed. But what if you need us? How will we know? Mammoth comes closer, talking to them as if they are slow. Be prepared for this. We have been around for a lot longer than you. I think we know what we need to do. But what if you are in danger and need us to come? Mammoth smiles and looks across to Mum. Your mother will know when we need your help. I will send you an inkling. You'll know, just come when it's felt. But when you come to view, you must always view us from afar. We don't want other funny folk knowing where we are. But we are funny folk, surely, the children suggest. But children, you have changed. You are no longer like the rest. Funny folk can't change if they don't meet you, the children state. Ah, but they will need time to appreciate. More and more will soon come along, but if we rush, it may all go wrong. Go home and think about what you now know. So we will be fine, I can promise you so. So that introduces you to the world of Oggs. Each of these characters I made with my children, who are now nearly 18 and nearly 15, and I made these, oh gosh, over 10 years ago. And we all just fell in love with them. And every time I showed them to somebody else, they said, oh, can I have one? Can I have them? So I have created a range that I sell through a local craft shop. But these are the original Oggs, and these are the Oggs that tell all the stories. And basically, that day on the beach, the Oggs created a teepee out of old willow and sticks and stuff they found on the beach. And this is the world that you're going to enter in. So that's where they were called to when my children called them. But there's the possibilities of where you could call them to, and the places that you treasure, that you can call them to those places. And when we start to work over the coming workshops, you can start to imagine places that are favourite to you, really special places that you want to create Oggs, or just one Ogg, more Oggs, as many as you want. But you can create characters that fit the world that you want to create. They can be exactly the same as my world, but because we're all going to share things, we're going to hopefully generate some lovely ideas, because there's lots of stories that I've written as a result of these. I didn't wake up one day and decide I'm going to write children's stories. I created some characters, and then every time I was out and about, I just kept thinking about the Oggs and thinking, oh God, that would be funny. I can just imagine what Mammoth would say to that. So we're going to start to sow this seed of creativity through making some characters. Because every single one of these characters is made out of bits of old clothes. So an old jumper, a bit of an old pillowcase, a bit of trim round and a bit of something or other, might be a skirt, lots of buttons that you can cut off things you're throwing out. Like I say, nice cashmere. Granny Annie does. She wears the best, doesn't she? And as you notice, she's a bit of a singer, this one. She's often singing. So you'll find with the characters that you make, you're going to personalize them and then have the funny traits. They might have some, you might want yours to be one to be in control, and he might be really grumpy, or she might be really bossy as well. All the characteristics, they can all come from you, and you can make them just as you want. Look at this, an old pair of jeans, and we kept some of the zippered area and everything. There is no right or wrong with an Ogg. Oggs are all about just seeing what material you have and seeing what we can turn it in. There's no brilliant stitching on any of them. There's no I use quite simple stitches. I often use quite big needles as well. I can, because I've got my hands are quite difficult to use sometimes. So we can take this. I'm also somebody with MS, so I might not appreciate the difficulties some of you may have, but I will understand if you share with me how you can do things and how you struggle with certain things. I can work with that, and I'll do my absolute utmost to try and make this as accessible as we can to everybody, really, because it's either made me feel a little bit crazy, or it's made me, it's kept me sane over the bringing up of children and so forth. And I'm really delighted to have the opportunity, hopefully then, to share this with you, because we can have so much fun. My idea that I was thinking was around us meeting, we could meet we could decide on the set amount of time. I'd really appreciate some feedback on that from you as potential users of this workshop on Zoom, and we can think about the length of time that you think would work well, sort of attention span of some of the children perhaps in your families, some of the materials you do have access to, and because like I say, it's pretty much all old clothes. And because I've been doing this such a long time now, I've gathered a lot of old clothes, and people chuck their old clothes at me. Yeah, so there's ways around. I know Sian and Brian with the MS Society, who are the people that got in touch with me, we know we're really committed to try and make this work, and offer you something exciting for as long as we can, as long as it's helpful. So I'm sure we can work out the resources, if you feed into us the sorts of things that you think might be helpful for you. Let's go back just so I get put out the barriers that I think might occur. Like I say, I use big needles with a fairly big eye hole for them. And I only tend to use wool when I'm making some of the characters, and woolly jumpers, because it's so easy to thread through wool. You're not having to pull, because I really struggle with fine stuff. My fingers feel like they belong to someone else half the time. So I do things that are quite bold stitching. And when children are making them, I haven't brought, and I'm cross with myself now, I haven't brought out for this particular video, this introductory video, some of the little characters that some of the children have made, because everyone will be different, but they'll be so unique, and that's something that the Oggs really, really celebrate. And one of the stories that on the first workshop where we're going to do some making, I would tell you the story of the Mermaid of Ogmore by Sea, because that's a real celebration of our differences and accepting who we are, and just really valuing and celebrating what makes us unique, because that is an Og. There's nothing, well, the beauty is in the individuality. And I can't wait to have the opportunity to share more with you. So I'm going to post this video off to Sian and Brian, who then I hope are going to post it off to you, and this will mean that you've listened to it. And then if you could feed back to Shani and Brian ideas, your thoughts, whether it's something you think, and perhaps some of the obstacles that you immediately see could happen, and I would and that allows us to develop something that we know would be really helpful, and hopefully lots of fun and really safe and enjoyable. Okay, it's been an absolute delight to do this with you today, and I hope you really enjoyed that first story and meeting the Oggs. They're kind of all just piled on top of each other now, but I look forward to meeting with you again. Okay, thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.